It's an absolute pleasure to be here tonight and to be talking about something that I'm very passionate about, intensive interaction. Some of you might have heard about intensive interaction. Some of you might already be doing intensive interaction and actually not know it, but hopefully you'll recognize it before the end of the presentation tonight. Intensive interaction is a practical approach or way of interacting with a child. It focuses on the pre-speech fundamentals of communication. So we can use intensive interaction with children with learning disabilities as well as children with autism. I work as an early years teacher, and many children do not have speech at this time. And so what intensive interaction does is builds on the lead of the child. So the adult follows the lead of the child. We always hear people saying, you have to start with where the child is. But what does that actually mean, and how can you actually do that? Well, that's the idea of the talk of intensive interaction today. We want to make a connection with children. We want to inspire them to communicate, as others have talked about before. We want to be inspirational for them. We want to start with the child with where they are. So the role of the adult in intensive interaction is to be a sensitive partner for the child, an interactive partner who is responding, not directing. For children who find communication very difficult, sometimes they don't know where to start. So with intensive interaction, we start with them. Through being copied and responded or mirrored, it allows children for us to enter their world using their communication, which is often their behavior. So their utterances, the sounds they make, the vocalizations, the movements. We follow their lead. And actually, there's nothing better than to see something in action. So one of my kind colleagues has offered to let us do a very short demonstration. So in this demonstration, Gemma is going to be the child, and I'm going to be the interactive partner in in communication. I'm going to be following her lead until we can make almost like a conversation based on what she is doing as the child. Okay? Thank you, Gemma. Thank you, Gemma. That took a lot of bravery. Through being copied and responded to without any pressure to be a certain way, to do certain things, to behave in a certain way, the children often allow us to enter into their world. And that's what we want. We want that connection, starting with the child where they are. And then we wait for that moment of magic where you are connected, where you are in it together. Intensive interaction is something that we naturally do with babies, very young children. When a baby coos, we coo back. When a baby smiles at us, we smile back. It's instinctive. And so for children who are struggling with communication, who are not understanding how we would hope they would understand, this is a way for us to enter in without pressure and in an enjoyable and playful way. It links in with building on strengths that we've heard about tonight. It links in with respecting the child for who they are and how they communicate, and allowing us to make that motivating connection so that the children want to interact with us. Some outcomes of intensive interaction. Each child is unique, each child is different, but what we hope is that it's going to improve social skills. We hope it's going to improve communication, things like eye contact, things like initiating communication, understanding how to appropriately initiate communication when you're wanting to communicate with someone. More self-confidence in the voice, self-confidence in using their voice, self-confidence in being with other people. And mainly, we want the children to enjoy interacting with others. And this can be a way in when we don't know what else to do. So some top tips for intensive interaction. Follow the child's lead. Join in with what they are doing and how they are communicating. Wait for that moment and connect with them. You can also use timing and anticipation to grow the interventions. So you, with the sensitive adult partner, altering the tone of your voice, changing your intonation, repeating back what the child has said in a way that's slightly different, it again becomes that to and fro. And it makes it more interesting, which is motivating for children. You can alter your voice, body language and actions to be responsive rather than directive. Lots of times our communication is telling the children what to do, and then when they don't do what we want them to do, we feel frustrated. However, when we're trying this approach, we don't need to feel frustrated. We can follow things that the children, the movements they're making, their breathing patterns, that sort of thing to make that connection. And we want to make it playful and enjoyable, not just for the child, but for you as well. Because we all know that something that's fun, we're going to want to do it again, and we're going to want to try it again. And we might think about it and want to try it slightly differently next time. And we know the more we do it, the better we're going to get at it. And so it's motivating for the child and for the adults who are doing it with the children. And the most important tip is to don't forget to have fun. We want to hear our children laugh. We want to see our children smile. And this is what intensive interaction can bring. Once they let you in, you're going to be hooked on intensive interaction. There's lots of research that can talk more about intensive interaction. The websites there will give you more information, and I hope that you give it a try with those children who you're really wanting to break into their world and make that connection with them. Thank you very much.